This episode is brought to you by Crazy Domains. I've used them from day one across all 5 of my businesses for my website domains and my emails. They've got everything you need to build and manage your online presence all in one place. Their tools are so simple to use. Their friendly 24/7 customer support actually shows up when you need them. And if you ever need extra guidance, they even offer free consults. So if you're growing your brand online and want to keep things streamlined, check them out at crazydomains.com.au. All right, let's get into today's episode. Welcome to New York City. I am currently here on podcast tour and we have been having so many incredible guests showing up for us and I cannot wait for all of these episodes to drop. But I wanted to do a solo episode. I do have my incredible friend Leanne who is joining me as somewhat of a co-host on today's episode. She's been here hanging out with me all week. So I want to take you behind the scenes on what really happens on tour, why on earth I am here on tour, and how you can apply these insights into your business, whether you're dreaming of making some big moves, whether you're wanting to do an international podcast tour, then this is going to be a really jam-packed episode. I'm going to take you behind the scenes of all of it.
Awesome. So let's dive in. I'm dying to know. And I bet everyone else is dying to know, what brought you to New York City of all places?
Yes. So, okay, I was here 9 years ago for New York Fashion Week, which is wild to think because that kicked off my entire swimwear brand journey. I was in business for literally 1 week before I was invited to New York Fashion Week. Now, 9 whole years later, I feel like this is another rebirth of a whole new chapter. It's like stepping into that public figure era, the podcast, the personal brand. And although I've been doing the podcast for 5 years, in January this year, I almost gave it up because let's be honest, anyone who's done a podcast knows it takes a lot of energy. I was like rushing every single week. Had it on my to-do list and I was thinking, oh shit, I've got to record an episode. I would bang it out, rush it. I wasn't intentional at all. At that point, I actually felt like just pausing because I could put that energy into running my business. I could put it into my social media. I could do the things that actually have a much bigger ROI than podcasting. But then I sat with it and I thought, okay, my current self says give it up, but my future self said, of course, you're going all in on it. Of course, you're not giving it up. Of course, it's the thing that is going to allow you to fly all over the world, networking with the world's most successful women. So in January, I decided, okay, I'm going all in. I became really intentional with the episodes. I started producing them. I don't even know how it came about, but I had this idea that I just had to go to the US because there are so many incredible women here. Obviously in Australia there are too, and I've interviewed so many of them already. But the USA just has a different energy about it, a different perspective on the world that I think we sometimes forget about in Australia. So here we are in New York City. I went all in. We'd been planning this for months. A lot goes into this. And I think people just see the shiny podcast episodes. So I want to share all of it. I want to share the planning, how we're maximizing things here and take everybody behind the scenes.
Yeah, and it's been so amazing. And for those of you that don't know, I am business besties with Jess. And so it's been amazing seeing this all unfold because I was at the very front end of seeing you almost quit the podcast and not knowing what to do with it, investing so much. But how do you go from being like so frazzled and not knowing and not finding clarity in where you're going to something to just going all in and somehow just ending up in New York interviewing the most incredible, insane female business owners?
Yeah, I think we always have 2 decisions in every moment and neither is wrong or right. But for me, it's always where I find stagnancy is when I'm sitting in the indecision. And so for me, any decision is better than no decision. I could have kept doing it how I was doing it, but I knew that was not working. And once I realized this is not how I want to keep pushing forward, I made a decision like within 20 seconds because whether I went all in and 6 months' time then I decided to change my mind, that would be better than just sitting in the indecision, sitting and pushing it forward. So here we are. We've gone all in. And look, who knows where I'll be in 6 months, but I feel like now that I've gone all in, it actually really energized me. And sometimes we can grow resentment, especially because I'd been doing the podcast for 5 years straight, every single week, sometimes 2 or 3 episodes a week. And the podcast actually started to plateau. And you're like, why am I doing all of this? I hadn't monetized it. Obviously, it's great for brand building, community building. Clients would listen to it and get a deeper understanding of what I'm about. So it definitely helped sales, but indirectly, it had no ROI. It actually costs a lot to do a podcast where you've got to hire the studio, the editors. And when I first started, I had a $90 mic in the corner of my bedroom, but honestly, that doesn't really cut it anymore. I feel like you have to be doing video and really going all in. So for me, I just knew I had to decide either way. But once I decide, anyone that's been around for a while, once I decide, there's no stopping me. So I like go 0 to 100. And when I say I'm going all in, like, I mean, I'm going all in.
Oh yeah.
Sometimes I fall over, skin my knees, but I'm going to get back up and keep going. So if you're feeling like you're stuck in a moment where you know something is not optimal, you know something is not lighting you up or flowing with ease, like pause and ask yourself that question. Like, am I going to let go so that I can make space for something else, or am I going to go all in?
And that's so amazing. It's actually, it's quite interesting because at the start of the year, we've had our conversations on how we're going to make our mark this year and what does that look like. And I remember a big theme for you is stepping into this iconic leadership, which is one of your previous masterminds, but an iconic success. And for you to put yourself in a position of starting off and being in the most isolated city on earth, Perth, Australia, to now being in proximity to so many multi-millionaire people in the proximity of fame, crazy level CEOs making a massive impact on the world. How does one isolated girl from a small town like even put herself in those spaces?
Yeah, I think you have to have just a whole lot of audacity. But even when I was starting my first business, my swimwear brand, I never looked at it as I'm based in Perth, so let me focus on Perth. I always looked global. I think one, because I had a swimwear brand, which is very seasonal. And if you don't look global, it's a problem. But I've always just had this global mindset. Maybe it came from traveling as a child, but even then I feel like I've always seen the world as a big picture. But I think sometimes we can get so insulated in we only go to networking events in our local town. We only know people in our local town. We only run events in our local town. And even for me with my workshops, my events, I do them across the country. My first event tour was for my book tour. Actually, I've run a lot of workshops before in Perth, but my first proper events were all across the country. Because I think if we can go bigger, if we can play a bigger game, if we can do something that is unique that not everybody is doing, it's a competitive advantage. Because most people are sitting in fear, in indecision, in that's too hard basket. And honestly, you don't have to do anything too crazy to actually really stand out and have such a competitive advantage, because everyone is sitting in mediocre land. Everyone is sitting in the sameness. And I do not know anyone from Australia that I follow or that I personally know that has been on a USA podcast tour. And so for me, I don't wait to see someone else doing it before I say, oh, maybe I could do it too. I honestly dream up, and this is such a superpower of mine and something that I always push and challenge my clients on is, what would it look like if you went bigger? And what constraints are you putting on yourself that don't need to be there? Are you telling yourself it is too hard? Are you telling yourself, I can't leave my family for a little, like I can't travel? Are you telling yourself you need a lot of money? Are you telling it, like all of the things we almost use as scapegoats to not have to go all in? Of course, there's challenges. Like in our planning process, we emailed a lot of people. Whilst I had connections, most of my connections were from the fashion world. They weren't necessarily in the thought leader space or the female entrepreneur space that I'm leaning into now. I have a huge network in Australia, so it's easy for me to reach out and say, hey, do you know someone? But in America, I was starting from scratch. Like I didn't know many people at all. And so we were cold emailing this random girl from Australia. Hello, let me get you on my podcast. And we were emailing really big, high profile people as well. And surprisingly, we actually got a lot of replies. One, because I teach this to my clients, but when you're pitching, you need to really understand what's in it for them. No one cares who you are. No one cares what your topic is. No one cares about your stuff. They only care about, is this going to help me in some way? So I actually sent really personalized emails to every single person because value can even come from making them feel valued. If you make them feel like you know who they are, you know what they're about, you actually really want them on, you're not just bulk emailing a bunch of people, then that's going to stand out on its own. You won't believe the amount of emails that I get that call me like, hello, Jessica Williamson Photography, would you like to be on my podcast? And I'm like, I'm not a photographer. So instant delete. So little things like that can make you stand out, but also we became relentless. Like me and my team became almost stalkers, but in a less scary way. We scoured Instagram, we scoured LinkedIn, we scoured every piece of the internet to find any contact we could find, whether that's their personal contact, their business contact, their assistant's email, their marketing manager. Like we emailed everybody that could get us in touch with the people that we needed. And so for each person, we maybe had 3 to 10 emails that we were pitching to for each person. We had 100 plus people. So already, let's do the math. That's like, I'm taking a stab in the dark. Let's say that's 500 emails plus. Then, and that was research phase. We didn't have any of these emails. I did actually connect with a really incredible high profile founder that has come on the podcast. So I can't wait for her ep to drop. But she actually was so kind and gave me her wait list of guests that she hasn't yet had on her podcast, but she was so generous to offer that as well. We were reaching out and emailing all these people. 90% of them didn't reply. So then we sent a follow-up and we sent about 4 or 5 emails to each person. Do the math. That's about 2,000 plus emails. Where most people give up is they will email 3 people, feel rejected, feel embarrassed, make a narrative about it, and then they'll give up. But what I always say, and what this podcast is really about, unstoppable success means you are not stopping. When you feel deflated, when you feel tired, when you get no's, we had a lot of no's as well. But after about 3 emails, then we started getting replies from people because they realized we were actually serious. If someone is willing to email me 5 times, I'm like, okay, they really want me on. Let me at least reply. And so it shows your intention. And when you stop making it about you, that they're rejecting you, that they hate you, that you're annoying them, that they think this about you, and you start making it about them, if someone's going to get annoyed that you've emailed them, then they ain't it anyway, right? They don't need to be on. So that's fine. But so you have to do that in the start. And now we've got, I think, around 10 to 12 guests all across the country on the podcast, which is really incredible because now they've become connections. We've gone for coffees and dinners with some of them, and really you create such incredible friendships from that they've now referred people to me. And it really is about getting skin in the game. Even if you flew out, I would have flown out for 1 guest. I'm going all the way to Miami because one person said yes. And then I was like, okay, amazing. Let me see who else lives in Miami. I wasn't planning on going to Miami, but now I know they're in Miami. Let's make some more guests happen. So there's so much behind the scenes and just in the way that I think and operate that people don't see, but it's the boring. Like if I made an Instagram reel about that, like typing away, talking with my team, like, have we found the email yet? It wouldn't do well. So I wanted to create space,
that's
like,
right.
to share that, because I think we need to, as women in business, we need to stop being so soft. And by soft, I don't mean feminine led. That's great. We've got to have the duality, but I mean soft in that our feelings get hurt too easily. We feel embarrassed. We don't want to put in the effort, because the other narrative that goes through people's minds is, if I've sent 2,000 emails, I better have a result. And people are only willing to put in the effort when they know they're guaranteed a result. But the problem is you will only be guaranteed a result when you put in the effort. So it's so backwards. But a lot of times, especially, and like I was guilty of this in some stages as well, but we don't even realize that we're doing it. We don't even realize that these thoughts, because even I catch myself, I'm like, I just put like 5 hours into this reel. I edited up the best makeshift production ever, and it tanks, and you're like, oh, I don't want to post anymore. Give me a few days to recoup my energy. But I think we just have to keep showing up as if the success was guaranteed.
Yeah.
It's the only way to
That's
guarantee
amazing.
it. Yeah.
That's incredible. And something I want to acknowledge you specifically for, and we've had some conversations around this, is that so many women just don't pitch. They just don't even think that it's possible. And something that you do really, really well is you have the ability to see that like, oh, okay, this is something that I want. How the hell, what back door do I need to open? Whose like door do I just need to knock down in order to make something happen? So tell me, like, what are some of your intentions to get out of this trip? I know that the podcast was a really big deal. Like, what around becoming iconic and unstoppable are the goals that you're leaning into?
Yeah, I think for me, my superpower has always been playing in fantasy land, being delusional. Like, who on earth launches a fashion brand with zero experience and then gets invited to New York Fashion Week in week 1? So pretty much my whole life, my whole business journey has been this theme. And for a little while, I actually forgot who I was. And I started, the more success I got, the more I almost forgot to play in fantasy land, because the pressure that comes with being more visible, the pressure that comes with needing to be presentable or needing to be on. But for me, the intention behind this trip was to really hear incredible stories from all walks of life, because my purpose with this podcast is to ignite something in all of you listening right now. And I wanted to bring a different perspective, because I think especially with actual geographic proximity does come similar thought patterns, does come similar belief systems. And so by being in a new environment, I'm going to New York, Miami, and LA. And I think even just with those 3 cities, there's going to be such a diverse range of leadership, thought patterns, belief systems.
Yeah.
But even within that, we've had content creators, thought leaders in marketing. We've had fashion designers who've been around for 20 years. We've got reality TV stars. We've got such a breadth. So stay tuned. I'm so excited. But I really wanted to bring that diverse range, because unstoppable is not defined by an industry. Unstoppable means that you can really define what success means to you. And in the era of building a personal brand, you can be all the things. So I want to bring in together all the insights from everyone. Also, the second intention for me is I'm having bloody fun time. Like, this is my life. I just flew from Greece, running a retreat, getting paid to lead people through life-changing retreats in the most incredible location. Then I've jetted over to New York City. We're exploring Central Park, running over to do a podcast. And for me, that is so much fun. Like, this is work that I just invented out of nowhere. I just decided this is a job I'm going to have. Nobody said, here's your job offer. I just decided I'm going to do it. So that for me is really self-fulfilling. And I think sometimes we also have this pressure of we have to do it for someone else's purpose. But for me, it's the greatest fulfillment to be able to do this and share my voice and connect with incredible women. But thirdly, where's the list going to end? But thirdly, I truly believe when we chase our goals, when we set big audacious goals and we go out there and make it happen, when others get to witness us in that, that is changing lives, even if I didn't say anything about it. People are witnessing me running the retreat in Greece, here in New York, and I'm getting messages from people saying, wow, I want to be you when I grow up. Joking, obviously, but like, it's inspiring. And this is what I think is true leadership. Leadership is not always telling people what to do, but sometimes it's about leading yourself first, opening the doors that people think are impossible. And that in itself makes people believe that maybe they can do it too.
Yeah, they see themselves through you, and you're literally paving the way. And can we also acknowledge that while you were doing all of this expansion, having this amazing time, meeting all these amazing, incredible women, you've had one of your best months traveling.
Yeah, we've had a record-breaking income month. And while I was in Greece, I didn't open my laptop once. And I think a lot of people talk about laptop lifestyle, travel lifestyle, but the reality is they're working until like they're working still 10 hours a day. And so for me, it's about creating the client flow, the income flow to impact people's lives, to build offers, to build buyer journeys that allow people to opt in to the work that I get to do. And for me, I never want to push or convince or like use sleazy sales strategies because one, it brings in the wrong kind of people. And I need people who are ready to play big, who already know they want someone on that path with them who is playing big themselves and paving the path, not just preaching it, but doing it. And so for me, I have such an incredible buyer journey that the most beautiful women have been joining my programs and I've been supporting them while I've been here as well. And I'll check in the morning and I'll check in at the end of the day because now it's a 12-hour time difference. I've built a business that allows me to change lives while I'm also building mine out.
And it's been amazing. And it's showing people, again, what's possible. Now, I know that you ask this a lot in your podcast, and I'm sure people are so curious. Okay, you've had a record-breaking month. You're traveling. How the heck are you doing it all?
Yeah.
What doors have you opened to invite people so that you could be making all of these sales?
Yeah. So a lot of people say to me, Jess, love that for you, but it's not possible for me. And it's interesting. So I want you to almost catch your thought process as you're listening to this episode. Catch the narratives that come up. Okay, that's okay for you. And something I hear often is that's okay for you because you don't have kids, or that's okay for you because you're young, or that's okay for you because you have a team.
You're confident.
And you will always look for the evidence that you want to be true. And all of those narratives are actually just stacking up the evidence why you should not go after your goals. So what I want you to take from this is I was the most shy introvert in history, yet here I am speaking. This episode right now, we're just making it up on the spot. And I feel so grounded and confident to do so because I continue to get out of my comfort zone. So I wasn't equipped. No one taught me how to do this. No one told me you should go and do a USA podcast tour. I gave myself the permission. But when it comes to like the behind the scenes of the client flow, I built out a really intentional buyer journey. So I have obviously podcast episodes. I have masterclasses that warm and nurture my audience to really understand what I'm about, to give them deep value, but I do it in a strategic way where they could go away and never work with me and their lives would still be changed if they implement it. But the ones who are ready to go all in, it really speaks to them. It makes them feel seen. It makes them understand where their gaps lie. And so it creates this opportunity for them to opt into working with me. But I recently did a tour around Australia, my events workshop tour. Off the back of my events workshop, I invited people to work with me in a 4-week immersive mastermind where that mastermind, I designed it because it's 4 weeks. I don't want to give them all theory. I want to give them quick wins. I want to give them potent strategies. I want to give them actual belief shifts that real change happens in that 4 weeks. And so I've structured it in a way that people were making sales within 24 hours of me sharing a easeful sales strategy with them. It's the same way I sell out my retreats, the way I sell out my offers. And so I gave them quick wins. I gave them mindset shifts. I built real trust. And I think in this day and age, that is something that sets you apart, which is unfortunate. But I make sure that, okay, I'm not just going to overload them with information. I really understand how to create influential change. And this is something I work with my clients on as well. Just brain dumping all the information in your brain is not going to create change for your clients. Understanding how to truly shift something on a cellular level at a subconscious level for them is. And so I create my 4-week program around that because people get so many wins. By week 2, people are reaching out to me saying, oh my gosh, this is incredible. My life has changed. I need to continue working with you. And so I really build that trust fast through my buyer journey. And I know what transformation they need at each stage. I actually have a whole masterclass on this. I'll actually put it on the show notes. Free masterclass. It's called the $1 Million Shift. And this was the biggest shift to me because I used to sell all day, every day on social media. Every single day on stories, I'd be taking people through a buyer journey. But instead, I've learned how to create an asset that does the selling for me. So
An
now the
ecosystem.
sales come through without me having to sell every damn day, and people don't want to buy that way anymore. So, and it's tiring. And while I'm traveling, I don't have the energy for it. So obviously I'm still in the DMs, I'm still selling, but what I want you to take from that though is don't copy my business model because it needs to work for you. But the key is really building out that. So watch the free masterclass. It'll take you through how to start to build that out for your own business, because copying my business model may leave you burnt out, or it may just not feel aligned, or it may not be right for your ideal client. So it needs to be really personalized.
Yeah, I
as
love
well.
that. We're spilling all of the tea on this. And also I'd like to ask, like, so we're wrapping up New York City. This is our very last day. What are some of the biggest takeaways? You've felt the inspiration and if you learnt all the things, how are you going to be applying that to your life? And what are you taking away from this?
Yeah. Oh my gosh. So many takeaways. I think at the moment I landed, the energy here is different. Obviously, it's very fast paced. Obviously, it's very, what do you call it? Condensed. There is a lot of people. I think there's almost a half of Australia's entire population in Manhattan alone.
That's
like
crazy.
half of our entire country is bigger land-wise than the entire USA. In this one tiny island, half of our population pretty much.
No wonder we've been so tired.
Yeah, we feel the energy.
Non-stop.
But it's so fast-paced. But the thing is, because it's so condensed, because it's so fast-paced, a level of competitiveness exists, a level of you need to be good at what you do to succeed. And there's a level of ambition here. Whereas in Australia, I think you can very easily coast by and still succeed because we have so much I could unpack. Tall poppy syndrome.
So many layers.
Tall poppy syndrome. Don't be too big for you, but stay humble, all the things. Whereas here they're like, I'm obnoxious. I'm owning it. Let's get out there. Let's make shit happen. One experience that stood out for me was on our first day, we were wandering the streets, and I'm going to keep this as short as possible because I might do a full episode dissect.
Yeah.
But we were wandering the streets and we could hear music coming from inside the building. Out the front was like a media wall, and a media wall just instantly, to me, triggers something important is happening. Like, you know, the media wall with the logos, if you know.
It was like a little party
Yeah.
outside. And we're like, what is this?
Yeah. And the guy outside was on a microphone and I was like, what is he even talking about? Like, it was just spitting bars and I was like, what on earth is he talking about? It sounded gibberish until I tapped into it. And then we realized that he was making up custom poems.
Yeah, he looked at us and he was like, you friends?
Yeah.
And we're like, yeah. And then he made up this friendship love poem around connection and friendship, and it was so sweet. And he was just spitting bars. It was amazing.
And then we looked inside. So this was a Starbucks. We realized by then this is a Starbucks. Okay, what is happening? And it created intrigue because we could hear like a bit of noise coming from inside. I could see streamers, but we couldn't see what was happening.
The mystery.
And it created the intrigue. And I think this is important in marketing, in social media and business, to create intrigue, to draw people in, to have people say, what is she doing? I need to know more. It actually hooks people and engages them. And so we walked in. There was a whole ass concert going on.
As soon as we walked in, we heard blasting music and we started dancing. And then a woman with a roving mic, this singer, was just like blasting these tunes in our faces, and she started dancing with us. And we were like, whoa, what a whirlwind entry. And we were just shook.
There was literally a whole drum set, a saxophone, 2 singers, a rapper, and they were owning the space. This is one thing I was like, we are not in Australia anymore.
Yeah.
I felt like Dorothy out of Wizard of Oz because
and like hip hop, and they were like making coffee rhymes. It was crazy.
They were strutting around the space and taking up energetic space. In Australia, I feel like people would be playing quieter. They would not want to, like, they would add to the ambience, but they didn't want to be the star of the show or like self-centered or everybody look at me.
And they'd be in the corner strumming on their guitar and then just giving good vibes. But this was a whole ass party.
This was a party.
And they were roving. They were roving and they were interacting with guests and like picking everyone's energy up, and you just couldn't help.
I danced in a Starbucks. I do not dance in public very often. That would have been my worst nightmare a few years ago. But what they did was they set the standard. I never would have danced if they didn't take up that space themselves. And I think we need to stop being afraid of taking up space. We need to stop feeling like we're annoying people if we're saying, wow, look at me. We need to stop being afraid that people are going to think we're arrogant or self-centered or whatever thought comes to our mind, and take up the damn space, because they took up the space, it gave me permission to dance in a damn Starbucks. It gave others permission to have fun, have joy. And interestingly enough, 90% of the people in there weren't paying any attention to these people.
No, they were sitting having
like
coffees.
It wasn't like everyone was standing around like a mosh pit. Everyone was just having their coffee, ordering their Starbucks. And these people were playing as if they were playing at Madison Square Garden, regardless of what was happening around them. And I think sometimes we can dim our light. Sometimes we can wait for external permission, external validation to step into the bigness. But I think we need to step into our bigness regardless of what's happening external to us.
And how's that going to shift the way that you move when, you go back home and you go run your things?
Yeah, exactly. So that was huge. And honestly, there's been so many experiences like that America does it bigger, but I think New York does it biggest. And so that's been a really cool experience, and just shifting my mindset in every little micro moment on the experience. You walk into a store and it's a whole brand journey. We went into Skims, and from the moment you step in, you've entered a new world. The brand continuity, I videoed in the change room because I was like, why is there meditation music playing
lighting
in the
flattering.
change room? It's about like brand experience, emotion you want to invoke. And so it's really just gotten me thinking bigger, and the experience has just been on another level. Just the buzzing of the city, the huge settings that we're in, the people everywhere. And so there's so much expansion here. I think every Australian needs to get out and come to the US, almost make it a business trip, because there's a difference between tourist trips and like business
and
trips
intentional
as well. Yeah. And
is there anything specifically, like when you go back home into your masterminds, to your clients, and you could share them, this is something that you need to implement today because I've been there and lived it, what would that be?
Yeah, I think honestly, the first thing is shift how you see yourself. Stop seeing yourself as the biggest fish in a small pond and start looking bigger, start looking globally, start looking at the biggest thought leaders, even outside your industry, and be the small fish again. Because no matter what strategy you're implementing, no matter what tactics, I don't care what you're doing tactically, if you don't think in this way, if you don't hold that identity, then you're never going to make those moves anyway. And I think it's not necessarily about following a specific strategy, because then you end up looking like everybody else again.
Yeah.
It's about thinking differently, being activated in a new way. And I actually shared a lot more depth around the Starbucks story as a lesson for my clients. Within 30 seconds, I got off the call. I had like 10 messages from them being like, oh shit, I realized I'm playing small. Here's my 20 ideas. Jess, can you check this? Can you give me your feedback? I'm going all in. I'm booking my event. I'm doing this. And sometimes it's about the activation that allows you to step into something at a whole new level.
Yeah, it's an energy.
Yeah.
And now taking all of this on board, now that you're so inspired and ready and activated, what's next for you? Where are you taking this energy?
Yeah, well, I'm taking it to Miami and then LA and then back home. But honestly, I need to actually sit and reflect around it, because I don't think the gravity of it has really sunk in yet. Like, I need to be so intentional, because when you're out there making big moves, when I came here at New York Fashion Week, I never once paused and said, wow, like, look at what I've just achieved. And I was straight home, straight on to the next thing, anxiety driven. Now I run my life and my business so different, but we haven't really had a moment to pause.
We sat in the lobby of this amazing, luxurious boutique hotel yesterday, and we were just like looking at ourselves, like we were beside ourselves. We were like, hey, we've been so on the move that I don't even think we've had the space to calibrate where this new energy and this new level. We also hosted a founders CEO dinner with so many incredible New York City women that we've most of them we've never met.
Really, really good friends.
Yeah.
Like, we decided to host a dinner when we knew nobody. Again, we could have said no one's going to come. Like, we also didn't really plan to be here on the week of 4th of July when everyone leaves
out of town, but we made it work. We were like, we just want to create more of a like-minded space for women to come into our field.
Yeah.
And I think we just had a moment. We were just sitting and reflecting like, holy heck, we are here.
Yeah. I think the key is like we can always have goals and we're always working towards things and we always have a never ending to-do list. But it was in that moment we're actually staying at like a hotel where celebrities stay, where mega wealthy stay. It's the most beautiful new artsy luxury hotel. We have a whole suite to ourselves and views of the Empire State Building from the rooftop. Like this hotel is on another level. Last time I came to New York, we booked the cheapest Airbnb we could. The aircon taste every morning we woke up and we could taste rust in our mouth. And I think on our journey, we don't actually realize how far we've come. We were sitting there and we're like, wow, I can't wait to be in. Well, I can't wait to be even more wealthy and like,
okay, so what's next? What are the next goals?
And we're like, wait, we're
living it.
Well, like we are wealthy
living it.
right now. We just had a record-breaking income month. We're sitting at this luxury hotel, like
living our dream,
doing
getting
the
paid
work
to travel.
we love. We need to take stock of our life. And even if you feel like you haven't achieved enough yet, because let me tell you, at every new level, you will still feel like that. The key is to actually ground into even the small wins. And with my clients, I do this every single Friday. When they first start working with me, they might share one win that they've really scraped the bottom of the barrel to find. After a few weeks or after a few months, they're writing an essay. Not always because they're just achieving more, but because it's like a whole rewiring of your brain to actually appreciate what you've achieved as well.
I love it. Well, so many juicy takeaways. And I know there's so much more to be had. We're about to be flying to LA.
Yeah, we're going to be hanging out in LA. We're going to Create and Cultivate festivals. So maybe I'll tap in and do another solo episode and update you all on what comes from there.
Amazing. Can't wait to see what's next.
Yes. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for having me interview and sharing the journey. It's been crazy.
Yes. On a side note, before we wrap up this episode, I don't think we mentioned, but we are recording this episode because one of our incredible guests pulled out 1 minute before we were about to record. And it's so easy to get upset or get sad or disappointed because I was really hoping for that guest. But within 30 seconds, we informed.
Like, you know what? Let's just jump in. And also, you've been able to share so much value and I have like space to just reflect on all of these lessons. It's a rolling list. Once you actually sit.
You almost have to be ready. And I was anticipating that because when you're interviewing high profile guests and things do come up and it's not that they didn't want to do it or that they don't find it important. It's just like things happen. So you kind of have to be ready to pivot in business. Things won't always go your way, but do you sit in wallowing and disappointment or do you use that energy instead to take action and make it happen? So now we've got a whole episode for you.
Brought to you by the cancellation of
yes. And incredible Leanne has stepped in to do that. So thank you.